is that what? Yes, of course it started. But I mean, NUGS has always been, has always had that there. The politicization of NUGS, NDC, MPP, who was NDC's candidate, who was MVP candidate, even though they say, oh no. But I think that now it's too pronounced. I may be wrong.
Johnny, politicization of NUGS is something out there that people are talking about. But I think over the past 6 years, leaders of the various National Union of Ghana students are doing extremely well to help curb these insurgencies. And I think over the past years, we are doing extremely well. The past event that used to happen where we embarked on a lot of valuta, speaking on national issues and a whole lot of stuff are going to happen once more. Over the past 5 years, I think we are gradually doing well and we've achieved a lot of things to our name. I do believe the old folks who used to know NUGS are now going to experience the old NUGS once more.
We pray so. We pray so that we experience it. But you're interested in the victims of the Akosombo Dam Spillage, especially the students. What's your plan?
All right, Johnny, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity given us and also extend a greeting to the over 12.5 million Ghanaian students under our foot. As a union, an old union which concerns itself with a lot of positive advocacies, we're quite worried and disheartened when we got to know the news of the man-made spillage out of the Akosombo and the Oppong dam overflows. Upon realizing this, we got to know a lot of people reaching out to the community folks affected by this flood, a lot of organizations, CSOs helping out and all that. But one critical place we weren't paying much attention to is our student community. And since we are biased front that concerns ourselves with student-related activities, we thought it wise to also run there, to also find out what is really happening, run a lot of feasibility tests so that we can come out with our ramification exercise to also help mitigate the challenge we find there. And as we speak, we have about 19,743 students affected by this flood. And out of these students, we have over 10,000 of them who misplaced their educational materials, i.e. uniforms, books and all these kind of stuff. And per our feasibility test, we got to know that out of these 19,000 students, we have about 3,200 ladies who are complaining of not having hygiene materials, which is making life for our students very unbearable in these places as a result of this catastrophe caused by the flood. So we went there and upon running our feasibility test, we thought it wise to also come back and also reach out to our students. But one salient thing we also noticed was the fact that there were no teachers teaching these kids. And as we speak, I think it's volunteer teachers from the town, which most of them are SHS leavers and all that. So we felt, since there've been new curriculum introduced and all that, having quote-unquote an inexperienced person teaching them, though they are doing extremely well by volunteering to teach these kids, we thought it wise to bring the well-trained teachers to come and teach these kids in the interim so that when the government brings back their teachers, because now most teachers who are supposed to be teaching these kids have been hugely affected by the flood as well. So we thought it wise to reach out to our community, that's the teachers in our front and other volunteers to also come on board to teach these kids for free. And when we open it up, currently we are having 200 volunteer teachers who have applied to go and teach.
Qualified teachers.
Qualified volunteer teachers who had applied to go and teach these kids for free. And we've started a training process for them, a monitoring system that we are going to use. And the only thing we are asking the world, the only thing we are asking Ghanaians and our organizations is support to really roll out this particular plan very well. As we speak, it's Ghana Post who is willing to give us buses to bus these kids. We have engaged the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders on how best we could partner in making sure things work. As we are doing that, we are also taking cognizance of the issues. As we speak, we have our findings 0.62% of these ladies who sleep, students who sleep in this place are complaining of being sexually abused because of the conditions they find themselves in. They sleep in the same room with males as well, which at a point when you are changing, they are there, they are doing anything, they are there. And so per our research, almost 0.62% of these huge numbers, 19,743, are complaining of being sexually abused. So I think aside everything, we'll be sending our health team as well there to run a lot of free health screening, because we just noticed a lot of students being infected with malaria, a lot of rashes, and a whole lot of issues as a result of the water they are drinking from. So we'll be sending the health team. We've gathered enough medical items from Tobinco and other organizations as well, who are all partnering with the National Union of Ghana Students. So in the coming days, that's what we'll be rolling out to help in addition to the teaching thing.
Are you giving them any relief items? Is NUGS providing some relief items?
Yes, it's part of the reunification exercise we'll be working on. We'll be donating huge sums of exercise books, curriculum materials, uniforms, hygiene materials per the research we did and the things we identified.
The angle of the children going back to school in real time, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon because of the slow pace at which the water is receding. Do we have a plan in place in collaborating with the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service to have, proper real-time, quality time and access in terms of education for these displaced students?
Right. So that was one of the first things we discussed with the minister in our meeting with him early morning one of these days. And also we met the director of Education GES to also discuss with him, because we noticed the report from the engineers, we were told it's going to take almost 3 months before everything settles. So if it's 3 months, school kids in other jurisdictions are writing exams in that period and all that. So we can't leave the fate of these students to bear. So we discussed with the minister the practicable steps that could be taken to help solve the challenge, and also suggested our mechanisms that we feel should be adapted in helping solve the challenge. Now, we've seen the ministry putting up temporary structures, because as we speak, the school buildings that's supposed to be the main place that students will be sitting and learning are now being used to house the community folks, because there are no places. They've been set up as camps. When you get to other communities in this Central Town, North Town, and even Bunu East, which is the Pro East district, when you get there, you get to know some of the places education is not ongoing, teaching is not ongoing, nothing is happening because of how serious the place has been flooding. So there's no access to those kind of places, which now we are putting up camps, setting up new camps that could accommodate these students so that teaching processes can also start. So we are looking at temporary structures to accommodate these students, and also we are looking at nearby schools where we relocate these students to these nearby schools to also actively participate in the educational process as a temporary strategy, so that when everything settles or everything returns to normalcy, we'll be able to bring back the students to their various places. Because when you get the KG1, KG2 to class 2, they are all together, sitting under the tree learning, which is not supposed to be so. So if those structures are fast-tracked, I think it will be help with the proper segregation of these students.
I see. Helen, you have a question regarding this one?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask about what measures you are thinking of possibly implementing for students who've been complaining about possible sexual assault or sexual abuse. It's one of the things you've itemized. Is there any maybe send some education to those parts as far as what constitutes maybe sexual harassment or abuse? Or what is the plan as far as that is concerned?
Aside the complaints and the research we've made, aside the education we'll be doing, we are speaking with organizations which could help in putting up a lot of tents to really help with the proper segregation. We've started engaging Child Rights, which after here I'll be engaging their director.
Child Rights International,
yes,
right up here.
Yes, okay. I'll be engaging him right after here too. We've sent our proposals and everything on how best we could also want to also help the situation. So we'll be getting there to also engage them aside the sex education, because if you educate them and you leave and they find themselves in that same room, nothing is going to change. So after educating, and we put primitive measures in place to also push them into those places, it's going to go a long way.
There's been a conversation about, and I'm happy you talk about the structures. Inadequate classrooms at the basic level, washrooms, in record time when they have to go to school normally, textbooks as well. What's NUGS' opinion about these things?
Johnny, this issue is one thing that is really dear to our heart, especially when we find ourselves in a country and a main statutory fund which is supposed to cater for educational matters have been capped. And now as we speak, we have over 5,000 schools under trees. We are having over 2.2 million Ghanaian students who are having no desk, no books to even study as a result of this capping process. As we speak, nursing training allowances, 18 months has not been paid. 1 year, 6 month allowances have not been paid, these nursing trainings, and now they are all complaining and wallowing in these worries out there. All is linked to the fact that Get Fund has been capped. Over the past years, when the fund was not capped, the fund had a lot of funds to really help with a lot of educational solutions. When you get to various campuses, you found a lot of Get Fund projects happening, routing out and all that. Get Fund supporting schools with materials and a whole lot of stuff. But now we find ourselves in a country, and now this fund, which is supposed to be helping and these students in education, has now been capped. It's spoken from 2020 till now. The National Union of Ghana Students with Education Watch and other organizations have been pushing, picketing, submitting a lot of petitions and a whole lot of recommendations.
What has become of them?
And it's still on the plate of Parliament, and now they are still discussing on how best Get Fund can be taken out of the capped companies or capped organizations. As we speak, per our last engagement, last 2 days, we're on the same panel with the Minister of Education and the Ghana Education Trust Fund Administrator. And the government's about taking 17 of these organizations out, and they've classified those organizations as priority. But Get Fund was not included. But we want to still tell the government that as a country that really values education, and if indeed we value the future of our youth, we value the future of the country, the one particular sector that much attention should go is our educational sector. And education costs. So if education is costing, and now we are also implementing free SHS, which has moved numbers from 82,000 to over 1.3 million Ghanaian students entering into various senior high schools, it clearly tells you that as the numbers are increasing, we should also be increasing our funding so that it could help these students out there. Else, we churn out these huge numbers, and now their life ends there and they are not able to continue school anymore. So we are calling on government that as a matter of urgency, the uncapping of Get Fund should be considered so that it helps the Get Fund and other organizations, Student Loan Trust Fund, it helps Ghana Scholarship Secretariat and even the Ministry of Education to roll out a lot of...
Do you get a sense that the government listens to you when you talk?
The government listens. It listens to us.
Recently, if you listen, you have to take an action. And if all you're telling me is that we are discussing, we have filed petition, we have visited them, it means when you talk, they don't listen.
Over the past few days, when I ascended this throne as the NUGS president, we've been engaging the ministry, we've been submitting petitions, especially on most of the worrying issues. Good enough, we've had most of them go through. The long-standing ones has to do with the uncapping of Get Fund, the nursing training allowance, which our last engagement with the Minister of Health through our Ghana Nurses and Midwifery Association has assured us he's had clearance from the Minister of Finance, and the next 2-3 weeks, nursing training allowances will be paid, which is a good step. The next one has to do, our main issue has to do with the uncapping of Get Fund. If the reading of budgets does not include the uncapping of Get Fund, and other steps will be taken.
How did NUGS sit down for that to happen in the first place? Because when you say capping, it's been capped and it's been used as a collateral to go and borrow. Not so.
Exactly.
How did NUGS sit down for it to be a specialized fund like Get Fund to get into that situation?
All right. I think the first time we got noticed of the measures taken by the ministry and the government to cap Get Fund, the first thing we do was to rush to the Parliament and also the Ministry of Finance to really find out what is really happening.
But NUGS has a representation on Get Fund.
Currently, as we speak, the representation on Get Fund is from GNUGS, Ghana National Union of Technical Schools. So NUGS is no more having, but normally if you have anything we want to suggest when we approach them, it's quite simpler to really get them here. So Get Fund itself, or Get Fund as a body, is also fighting for the uncapping and also pushing that most of the funds out of the 2.5 tax, which is taken from every Ghanaian in buying anything out there, should be directed to Get Fund directly so that it uses it to fund for educational matters. But here is the case, the fund comes, it goes through the ministry, it goes through a lot of bureaucratic processes before it finally settles at Get Fund. By the time it gets there, the amount they are having is very low. This year, they receive as low as almost 1.8 billion Ghana cedis, which is very low to fund for a lot of educational-related issues. And the subsidiary bodies, which is the Ghana Scholarship and also the Student Loan Trust Fund, as we speak. So, the National Union of Ghana Students, as I always say in the coming days, is not going to sit aloof. We are, in a way, we don't really, we have that spirit. You don't fear any government ostracizing us or any government castigating us because we've been able to speak to a particular issue. When we have worries affecting our student welfare, we'll come out clearly and also state our recommendations, state that, register our displeasures to whoever body that is supposed to ensure things are working in our country. So we are doing well, though it hasn't been an easy journey, but we are still putting structures in place to make sure the old NUGS suffices.
Structures, I see. You've mentioned structures too many times today. There has been talks about reviewing free SHS. What form should this review take from the perspective of NUGS with you as president?
All right, Johnny. Issues with free SHS over the past few years, we've been making a lot of submissions, especially when it came to the double track system. There were issues that has to do with double track system, infrastructure deficit, curriculum issues, and other relating issues, food, and a whole lot of issues that were outlined by our research team. Upon this outline, we just met straight away. We just have to go to the stakeholders and also engage them on the issues we've identified in the free SHS policy. And upon the engagement, gradually, though we are seeing one or two changes now, the double track system has drastically reduced. Most of the senior high schools are not using the double track system any longer. There are few ones who are still using the double track system, which we are pushing that as part of the review. The double track system should be scrapped off. In scrapping it off, that means there should be a lot of infrastructure being put up in the various senior high schools to help accommodate the large numbers that are coming.
I see. William has a question for you.
Yeah. Oh, I was just asking, how is your relationship with other student bodies abroad? Because I know NUGS also is responsible for students, Ghanaian students abroad. And how do you engage them to support your activities, especially because of the environment they may have? Those in the West, Canada, US. I just want to know the relationship you have with them.
All right, so there's a good relationship. Currently, as we speak, we have NUGS Cuba, NUGS Ukraine, NUGS France, NUGS Canada, NUGS Russia, and now on God willing in November, NUGS US and NUGS UK.
So you don't have them all over the world?
No, we don't have all of that all over the world. We are now pushing through to make sure we have our bodies established. On God willing, next week, Monday, NUGS will be in France to go and check up on the NUGS France to know how we could also put structures in place to bring our students in France.
You know that your colleagues in Cuba, for example, we had conversations with them, and there's been a general problem about the scholarship secretariat. They being out there, left to be on their own. Their monies are not going to them. Has that come to your attention?
Yes, it's come to our attention.
What do you want to say about it?
It's come to our attention, even including issues of NUGS Ukraine, the students who are reading medicine and now have been brought back to the country and have been decentralized to different universities. Some of them are paying over $100,000 and now they are complaining of where they were sent to schools in Cuba, not just Cuba. Students in UK recently also complained of their scholarships not coming. Our students from even Ghana, Winneba and University of Ghana, who were sent to Togo and Benin to do some Alliance Française program, we're all complaining of the allowances not coming. The scholarship secretariat upon engagement is trying to tell us they are not really getting funds for their activities, which is in a way linked up to the capping of Get Fund, and they are not getting enough funds that's supposed to come on a normal day that they should be using to pay all these organizations, which is quite worrying. We are still engaging them. We shouldn't. Our suggestions were they shouldn't just depend on only the government interventions and the kind of things coming to them. They should be looking at an external body because our students are suffering out there and they can't be complaining. You can't be in a way telling us government is not having funds, so we are just We are not really getting funds for it, which our students are dying out there.
You know the student situation in Israel.
Yes.
And the Gaza Strip.
Exactly.
What's the current situation of Ghanaian students in that area?
Okay, so I think when it happened, we engaged the counselor in the Gaza to really find out how our Ghanaians were doing, because we have 1 or 2 reps in Israel that were picking feet on what is happening. Upon engaging them, they wrote back to the National Union of Ghana students that all students are doing well as we speak. And now Ghanaian students that want to also come back to the country, they've put in plans in place to really bring them back to Ghana. So as we speak, Ghanaian students are okay. They've all been, even including all the other citizens of the country who are also there. They've all been kept at a very cool place, and they've opened up the chance that anybody that will want to come back to the country, the consular is willing to assist them to come back safely.
I know Ukraine mostly they do medicine. What do they usually do in Israel and the Palestinian territories?
All right, I think
use the mic for me. Use the mic for me.
Agric.
Yeah, Agric-related programs. Yeah.
I see. Let's come back home here, and nursing training allowance, teacher training allowance. Should it be maintained? Should we forget about it?
Yeah, Johnny, my view on these issues were, we've instituted an allowance system which is supposed to serve as a force majeure for these students, serve as a relief for these students who are schooling in our various teacher training and nursing training. It's a very novel plan. It's a very novel policy. But if we've instituted this and at the end of the day we are not paying, then in a way, what's the essence of having the nursing training allowances? And now we are having their school fees always being skyrocketed. As we speak, some nurses are paying over 4,000 Ghana cedis a semester. That means 2 semesters, that's the whole academic year, are paying over 8,000 Ghana cedis.
Right.
So if we've instituted an allowance system, some of these students, their parents borrow money for them to come to school because of how the school fees are skyrocketing. And they then tell them that when you get to school, the allowances are going to come. So use the allowances to fend for yourself when you get to school. But now we get there and the allowances are not coming. For the past 1 year, 6 months, allowances are not coming. And now when it comes, we pay 4 months, and the next time we pay 1 month, and which is quite worrying.
So for you, from perspective of NUGS, if we cannot keep up with the pace, we should scrap it.
If we can't keep to the pace of the allowance, I feel that in taking it off, you shouldn't just scrap it. In scrapping it off, you should have a subsidiary plan that would help reduce the pressures on our students out there.
How?
So that's how the fees has been skyrocketed. Can be reduced. If the fees is reduced, that every student who is in the nursing training allowance can afford paying the fees, then there will be no need for even allowances, because now on the school fees they can't pay, and some of them are using the allowances to at a point subsidize most of the things happening out there. The same thing is happening with the teacher training allowances. Most of them are using these amount of money to fend for the association, to fend for themselves on the various campuses. So if we are not getting enough funds to pay the allowances, then there should be a subsidiary plan by the government to help reduce the pressures on our students out there. Because in the past years, in the 2000s or in 2003, 4, 5, they're coming, students, teachers who were in these institutions were using the allowances to pay their fees. Because those times people were finding it difficult to even get funds for school. So they were using the allowance as a main source of fund to pay their fees. Same thing, the parents who are taking care of these kids are also having that same mindset that when you get to school, the allowances are going to come. And you could be using that one to even buy a few books and also feed yourself whilst you're on campus. But you get there and allowances for 1 year, 8 months is not coming. And now these students keep on asking you, what is the other financial plans we could use in paying our school fees? Is there any means we could even apply for student loan trust fund? Is there any means we can also be enrolled on the Get Fund scholarship or something, so that it helps reduce the burden on us? If that is not put in place, it is going to go a long way in helping. It's just like the hostel prices happening. Most of our students are now sleeping in libraries, sleeping in uncomfortable places.
Because they're too expensive.
It's too expensive. We are paying school fees around 1,700 to 2,000 Ghana cedis. You are paying a hostel fees of over 8,000 Ghana cedis. And now,
but did we not see this? I remember that there was a whole committee that was set up to be chaired by Professor Yanka, right? It was Akwesi Yanka, who was then Minister of State at the Education Ministry.
That's true.
That we should look at how the inflows, the numbers that you spoke about from free SHS were coming in, and how the universities were going to accommodate them. Because in one particular year, we had about 19,000 people from Legon who couldn't get admission, and this was in the early days of free SHS, and we are still, piling up the numbers and adding on to it, and that accommodation problem has never gone away.
Recently, when Legon just reopened school and most of their students now don't have places, now there's a lot of overdependence on the traditional halls, and the traditional halls are few. Now, most of them are forced to move to the private institutions, private hostels, which they are saying we really can't control the pricing system of the private hostel. But one most important thing is these private hostels gain their powers from the government organizations, because you can't just build the private hostels without going through the tax systems, without going through the approval system. So if the government could, in a way, put plans in place, since we are not, in a way, we don't have the funds to put up a lot of halls on the various campuses. I feel they should give the universities or the opportunity to partner with private institutions to put up a lot of our halls or hostels on the campuses to reduce the overdependence on the few traditional halls. Because if that happens, all the huge numbers in the various universities now will be forced to be moving around, gallivanting around, sleeping in libraries. During my time when I was in school, I have some of my colleagues who were sleeping in libraries. Some of my colleagues were, sometimes you just go there and they are sitting on the lover's bench. You sit there, you converse till the next morning, and right after, early in the morning, you go to your friend's room to bath, and then you pack your things and then you go to class. This is what's happening.
Helen is shocked.
So is the system preparing you for job market? Looking at all this night food, what do you think? What do you? I mean, I just want to understand how you feel about all these struggles and the job market and unemployment and all that. What's NUGS' position on that?
All right. So I understand no government will be able to employ all these huge numbers. The only thing we would have to do now is set up a platform that students could be trained, students could be equipped with new skills, so that aside just having a governmental job, you could create your own job for yourself. You could have entrepreneurs benefiting from this training and also these funds, so that they could set up their own businesses and all that. That is one of the main ways we could develop our young ones. Else, the happenings, the social biases happening will continue to skyrocket, because we've psyched. The school system have made us believe that right after school, the next place you should be going to is a governmental field. You should be sitting under air condition. You get it? So if you complete and that provision is not there, you don't really think through of being going to set up your own thing. The ideas and the things you've learned in school, set up your own thing. I remember during the COVID, I did chemistry in Kyeremeh University. And when I completed during the COVID, I sat down and I was like, what can we do to really help the situation? So myself and my colleague student, we sat down and we developed the sanitizers, we learned how to do the foreign sanitizers. And we made it in huge numbers, and most organizations were coming to us and they were buying these sanitizers from us. We got approval from FDA and we're doing a lot. So if we're able to set up a system where we have that mindset that it shouldn't just be about you coming to
but then you should have access to capital to be able to do that, because
exactly.
So you are able to pull resources together. There are people who are not able to do that, not because they are lazy, but clearly because the system has failed them. You need to have access to capital to be able to do that.
Yeah, Johnny, it's part of the things I'm discussing, that if in a way we are going to set up that platform where students will be trained, where students will be psyched up to take up entrepreneurship and other related stuffs, then in doing that, you should also set the provisions there. You can't just give me a car and on a normal day, you don't buy fuel. How then do I drive? So in setting up, training us and putting us in that side, you should also set up a fund that will help us do whatever thing we have to do. If at a point you train us, you give us that fund, we work with it and we would have to even pay back. We are ready to do that.
I get the sense from you that the general Ghanaian student is going through a lot. Is that the sense I get from you? Financially, in terms of accommodation, even the ease of learning and all of that, I get the sense that the Ghanaian student is going through a lot.
We have few challenges we are facing at our front, which you clearly made mention of, which has to do with our accommodation issues, academic related issues, allowances issues, which on any day we would have to accept that there are issues that needs to be addressed.
Would you say that the kind of education that is being given out now put you and the students who will go through that system up at a certain level of a world view sort of, such that you can move from Ghana and go and compete anywhere in the world on the job market elsewhere? Would you say that?
In the past years, I would say no, but currently we've clearly seen the new reforms coming, the introduction of STEM, the introduction of TVET, because that has been one of the key things we've been advocating for the past years, that if we indeed want to put our students on that pedestal of competing with other folks in different world, then we should be able to introduce the STEM's education. We should also be able to introduce the TVET education so that it helps change the narrative.
So it's STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And then technical vocational education.
Yeah.
And then there's also what the Americans call STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We have succeeded in taking out the arts in all of what we're doing.
I think TVET.
So if you feel like Shatawale or Stoneboy or Samini, or you feel like David Donto or George Quay or William Asiedu or Johnny Hughes, you have been taken out of the thing because there's STEM and TVET, and we are pushing a lot of money there, but we have left out the arts.
Before it even comes in, this issue about arts being entertainment, the engineers, when they develop the cars, it is the artists who design
aesthetic values.
Yes. Yeah. If the car is sitting and say, wow, it is not, that's not science, that's art.
That's true.
Architecture is art. So if the architects,
leather seats
all
and
those things,
wooden panels.
So we shouldn't reduce the arts bit to just entertainment, music, and those. As soon as you mention arts in this country, people think
so that's
every car you see on the street before you even go to the engine, you see the art.
So that's why I'm asking him that. Look, he's talking about STEM, talking about TVET. But in the scheme of things, the Americans have science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We have succeeded in taking out the A, and we're just doing science, technology.
Not taking out the
but so far I've not heard any policy.
As you rightly said,
not you. I'm just asking. The system,
but I think there should be some kind of education out there. The art is not just music and art.
No, we agree. So, I'm saying that you, as NUGS president, what is your position on the fact that the government is talking about STEM and TVET, and within the scheme of things, the arts, architects, all those people, they have been taken out of the thing.
Okay, so
we should have STEAM, not STEM. Do you agree?
STEM, TVET in a way captures the larger numbers of the art students, because now TVET deals with all those related stuff.
That's technical and
vocational related stuff. Right. And normally most of these students out there, those in those fields are mostly arts.
Would it be too difficult to have STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics?
Because they go together.
It won't be difficult at all. As a growing educational system, moving on, if probably we think we'd have to bring others on board, because in the past years we didn't have a lot of energies going to STEM and also TVET. We thought it wise, after a lot of consultations, that it's going to help our educational system. We brought it on board. If we've gotten to that stage where we feel the art community is being neglected, and we would have to also include them in the system, we would have to, so that I don't think they also feel a part.
Let's wrap up.
How many cars sell for $1 million a unit? How many cars? But you can have an art piece that goes for $1 million.
You actually, William,
pay attention there
the arts, right? The arts, tourism, and manufacturing or industries, they actually, and what do you call it, technology, they actually employ larger numbers of people.
That's true.
Very large numbers of people. As Dr. Yamson said this morning on Johnny's Bite, he said, look, we spent money for planting for food and jobs. The food did not come. The jobs too did not come.
We have spent on tourism. But now,
yes,
the business
because last week we were talking about the Nkrumah Mausoleum, right? They had jumped from how much? 3,000 to
a million.
In how many months?
So we should pay attention to the
within a month.
To the point where when you go to school, you don't do art, you don't do science and math. Then you are seen as
and the person who designed the Nkrumah Mausoleum is an artist. Anyway, we're wrapping up.
Looking sharp because of us.
Kyeremeh, Oppong Daniel, NUGS president, we're wrapping up. What do you leave us with?
All right. we are trying to tell the world and telling the government that we say the future is youth. We are telling the government that to see to the full actualization of this quote, they should be able to really open up and also have a lot of plans to really have the youth partaking in whatever thing we want to see. So we are calling on all the government agencies and all other bodies that if indeed the future is youth, we should take conscious effort in developing our youth so that as the old folks are leaving the scene, the youth will be able to also come and cause some metamorphosis in our country. We also want to assure Ghanaian students that, and also old folks and alumni of the National Union of Ghana students, as the citadel of positive advocacies has gained new energies, and now in the coming days, the National Union of Ghana students is going to speak on national issues. Johnny, when you were starting, you were speaking on matters relating to our youth engaging in a whole shisha, smoking, and a whole lot of stuff. But it's been one of the worrying issues at our end. In early next year, we'll be embarking on a journey. A 1 month journey that will be bringing most students leaders on board to educate, get into the ghettos, get on the media, and also educate, practically educate our students, and also get health personnel and others to partner us so that indeed we can change the narrative.
Don't wait till next year. Christmas they will be smoking a lot of shisha. Don't wait till next year.
There are a lot of dangerous drugs.
Yes. Tramadol.
San Francisco, you go, the streets are all full of people who are just junkies.
They are mixing tramadol with energy drinks. They are sniffing
super glue.
Yes, they are sniffing glue.
Oh Jesus.
Yes.
They are sniffing glue.
Yes, it's a very important.
They are using adhesives to put their intestines together through their power.
So something that really concerns us. God willing, next year to be organizing the biggest student festival. You see that in Kumasi Sports Stadium or Accra Sports Stadium, and we are hoping to bring our presidential aspirant to that meeting to speak to the youth their plans for us. Okay. What the past years has been just on TV, and they should meet student leaders. They should meet the youth and discuss their plans for us. So
thank you, Oppong Daniel.
Thank you,
Kyeremeh. We're grateful for your time this morning. He's a NUGS president. It's 28 minutes after 9. Good time to hand the microphone over to you.
Sunrise.
Dr. Joe Adai is on. Let's talk about Sancho Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi.